All right. This is a very complicated subject, and I'm happy to give information within a certain range of tolerance.
When you talk about, well, I have two questions. One, when you talk about the all of the gold being under the water, is that in a literal sense, or are you?
Okay, that is true. I kind of blew off that part of his question. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
That other information was very important to get out in some sort of public forum like this, where it can't be redacted or changed.
Right.
So anyway, as far as the gold goes, this is a vast subject. I did write an entire book on it. It's had 1.5 million unique views. It's called Financial Tyranny. You can find it on my website, divinecosmos.com. Here's the story. The cabal has been planning to try to dominate the planet for many, many hundreds of years. If you really want to understand what the cabal is, it goes all the way back to Babylonian money magic and the idea of using a financial system to create a disparity between rich and poor so that a small group of isolated power elites can control who lives and who dies, who eats and who starves. So what's happened is that this group got together and created the most incredibly vast, systematic plan to plunder the world's wealth that's ever been contrived, and that was World War I and World War II. And what they did is they used these invasions of countries as a cover. The war was bloody, yes, that's true. Everybody talks about how Prescott Bush, George Bush Sr.'s father, was Hitler's banker. What you may not realize is that Prescott's father, Samuel Bush, was the owner of the Remington Gun Company, which sold over 90% of all the guns to both sides of World War I. And think about that. So you can make money on selling the weapons, but that wasn't the main issue. The main issue was create these wars. And the real thing is that when you get into the country as a military invasion, invade their central bank and take their gold. And what happened is very secretly throughout the early 20th century, and especially in the 1930s, and a lot of it was done by Japan, which at the time was totally fascist and working with the Nazis. Remember, Japan was part of the Axis. They bombed us in Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Okay. They went through all of Southeast Asia and China and robbed everybody's gold. Nobody ever did it on such an industrial scale as Japan. They did horrible atrocities, including something called the Rape of Nanking in China, which is one of the greatest mass atrocities in human history.
That's right.
Okay, so what happened is they took everybody's gold, they hid it away in bunkers, which were originally supposed to be transplanted to the U.S., but then the patriotic American military that didn't know about this actually cut their supply lines with submarines and prevented them from being able to ship the gold over here. So the only step left they could do is to bury it in bunkers throughout Southeast Asia, of which there's well over 100. And these bunkers have a vastly higher amount of gold stored in them than what is officially on the books. The official amount of gold on the books is about one Olympic swimming pool size. It's 130,000 metric tons.
Okay.
The actual amount is supposedly about 14.5 times greater than that.
Whoa.
It's
and it's never been found. That gold not an ounce of it has surfaced.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
It has, and I have one insider who worked for Reagan. In fact, Reagan's code name for him was Mr. Do.
Well, I guess what I'm saying officially,
yeah,
not 1 ounce has ever been found. Let's make that clear.
Well, but I mean, it's all documented. There are people who've written about this before. There are books before Financial Tyranny that I draw from that talk about this, and it's all actually quite well documented. And I have insiders who have been inside these bunkers. And the insider who, as I said, was called Mr. Do by Ronald Reagan because he was the inventor guy. He invented anything they needed that was classified, solved all kinds of engineering problems. He walked in one of these bunkers. And imagine now you're going down a hall that's 1.5 miles long. And as you walk down the hall, there are doorways on either side every maybe 100 feet. And each time you look into one of these doorways, what you're seeing is a room that is the size of a basketball court piled to the ceiling with gold bullion bars. And you walk down that hallway for 1.5 miles. and every room that you see is packed to the ceiling with gold. That's what happened. That's what's going on. So much of this gold was held in private collections because one of the big secrets is gold is actually not scarce. However, it turns out that the place where gold is most plentiful is a vein that runs through Cambodia and Laos, Southeast Asia. There are gold mines that are so huge that you could literally just drive a bulldozer in there and bulldoze out gold boulders. Okay.
Oh, man.
And that hasn't been told to us. And that same vein actually ultimately runs down into Australia, and that's been kept secret as well. Plus, in the space program, there are asteroids they could go out and mine that are absolutely solid gold. So we do not have a gold scarcity. The gold, a lot of that gold that I said you could bulldoze out boulders worth of it, a lot of that has been mined, smelted, refined, and turned into, actual gold bars. And it was held in some very vast private collections. And the main group that was doing this is called the Dragon Family. And it is actually ultimately a group of humans that immigrated here and were not natively born on Earth.